In this video, I'm going to share with you all about how to get business credit cards even if you're a new business. I'm going to share with you my whole framework and platform that I work with to find local community banks and credit unions that offer business credit cards to new businesses. And I'll share with you the favorite banks that we're working with right now. Stay tuned. All right, so let's jump right in. The technique to getting business credit cards for a new business is a few steps that you should definitely do. You want to set up your entity correctly so that you can get business credit cards for your new business. And then you want to build some trade lines that are actually going to boost up your business credit score. That'll make it a lot easier as a new business to get business credit cards. You want to put together like a good list of banks and credit unions that are actively lending to businesses. And then you want to reach out to them, see what programs they have. And at the end of this video, I'll show you a list of where we keep a list of the business credit cards that we're currently getting for clients. All right, so how do you set up your company correctly so that banks are willing to lend to you and offer you a business credit card? The first thing you want to do is when you create your company, ideally you want to have a neutral name for your business. It will avoid you from getting declined because you might be in a restricted industry. Now, for a lot of businesses, they don't have to necessarily worry about this. But if you're in a restricted business, for example, like in real estate, it's a little harder to get business credit as a real estate investor, for example. Then you want to have your parent company created as a neutral entity. So, for example, your parent company could be Apple Ventures, and then your brand or your trademark could be Apple Real Estate Investing or Apple Property Management or something like that. So the parent company that you create, ideally you want to have it as a neutral name. Now, if you've already created your company and you're past that step, that's okay. I wouldn't say change what you've done already. Just work within what you have. Next item on the to-do list, setting up your company correctly, is make sure you have a local landline. You can use a digital service provider like RingCentral, for example, or Grasshopper. That's fine, but make sure that you have your phone number listed on Google My Business, Super Pages, Yellow Pages, etc. Make sure that your business is on the map. You then want to obtain a DUNS number. DUNS number it's a 9-digit social security number for your business. Basically, it's set up from Dun & Bradstreet. And the reason you want to have a business credit profile established with Dun & Bradstreet is when you're applying for business credit and banks and lenders take a look at your business, it would be best if they could see that you already have an established profile. I'll share a link to that video so that you can check out how to get your DUNS number. Then you want to build trade lines. We like to use Net30 accounts, Net30 vendors. If you don't know how to do that, I'll also share a video on how you can do that. But the whole idea behind it is that you're reaching out to companies and vendors that you can basically purchase goods or services from on Net30 billing terms, and then they're basically extending a small term line of credit to your business, and they'll report your positive payment experience to the credit bureau. So basically it's getting a trade line so that you can have multiple trade lines in your business credit profile. That way your business credit scores are boosted before you apply for a business credit card. Next, you want to reach out to local community banks and credit unions. One of the things I like to do is I just go on Google. You could type local banks or local banks near me, and you could see different banks that are in your area. Ideally, you want to find like local banks and credit unions that maybe you never really have heard of, or maybe they're not like super popular. And just doing a real quick local search, I can see already there's some banks here on this list that we've actually gotten business credit cards from, like Unity Bank and PNC Bank, etc. So you just start to put together a list of banks. The more you have, the better. We'll call 100 banks at one go around and put it all in a spreadsheet, and then we'll ask them like what programs they offer. Do they offer business credit cards to new businesses, etc. And you'll find a whole bunch of banks. And the reason I like doing it this way is that if you put together your own database of banks that you're working with, you'll know what their underwriting requirements are. You'll know what programs that they're offering, and you do have to call them or visit the banks, because a lot of the times they won't share with you information online. I mean, anyone can just go online to Chase and apply for a business credit card. And currently, it happens to be a great lender right now that is offering business credit card to new businesses, by the way. But if you want to obtain some serious business credit, then you need to find multiple local community banks and credit unions that are offering business credit cards. And if they're a portfolio lender, then they actually lend their own money. And what that means is that their underwriting is done in-house. They underwrite themselves, and there's really no limit to how much business credit that you can obtain if you're working with portfolio lenders. If you go with the larger, bigger banks that all use the same underwriter, then you're only going to be able to get like one or two business credit cards. And if you want to get $100,000 or $200,000 in business credit, you're going to want to use this technique. I have here a business credit card application. This one happens to be from a local community bank out here, and they offer a pretty good program. In fact, for under $15,000, it's a no-doc application, so they don't need tax returns. As far as how you fill this out, you need to fill it out. I can't do that for you, but you would provide your information like your business name, your EIN number. This one actually asks for your DUNS number, which we talked about a little bit earlier, business address, etc. Your legal structure, how many years of business that you've been in. And this is why I suggested you set things up properly. You have a business address, you have a business phone number, you get 411 listed and all that prior to filling out the application, so that when you make the application, you're more likely to get approved because you're not getting stuck on things. You know, the application looks good and it makes sense. One of the things that people ask about is if they can use their home address. You can. Some banks will have an issue with it. Many banks will not have an issue with it. But having a home address, I mean, a lot of businesses work from home, like chiropractors, engineers, architects, etc. So having a home-based business is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, in many cases, you could have your home address as 123 Main Street, and then you could have your business address as 123 Main Street, Suite 1. So that way you have a separate area for where you conduct business. So this is what the application looks like, what the questions that they ask, annual sales, and then they have here information about the guarantor of the business credit card. You fill that information out, you sign it, authorized users, etc. Business credit card rates are pretty competitive right now. I'm not going to talk too much about what rates are. You just have to go out there and do some research. But if you make these calls and you're interviewing banks, you're going to find some very competitive programs. If you just look at one or two banks, then yeah, I mean, you won't find the most competitive options out there. All right, so earlier I shared with you that we keep a list of business credit cards that we like for new businesses. If you just go to our website, businesscreditworkshop.me, click on business credit cards, and you can actually scroll down. We have an article that's called The Best Business Credit Cards. And we have a whole bunch of banks. We have Wells Fargo, PNC, we have US Bank, American Express, and these are some of the top banks that are out there. But as I mentioned, the best way is to just Google local banks, take a look at all the local community banks and credit unions near you, because finding portfolio lenders is really the best way of getting business credit cards for your new business. All right, I hope you found a lot of value in that video. Please hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when new videos come out.